The Hitch-Hiker is a 1953 released film noir directed by Ida Lupino.
It's a story of two friends who are going on a fishing trip down to Mexico. On the way, they pick up a hitchhiker who claims to have run out of fuel. It soon transpires he's actually a psychopathic murderer who basically hijacks them and forces them to take him down to the Baja California peninsula with an aim to then getting a ferry across the Gulf of Mexico so he can escape the authorities and perhaps continue with his killing spree. And that's it, really. It's a very simple plot. That is effectively it. I mean, we see briefly at the start some information about this guy, and we witness a couple of murders briefly. It's almost like a road trip because the most of the time is spent with these two guys and then this hitchhiker in the back of the car, and that's it. It's taut, suspenseful. Yeah, as you said, film noir that doesn't waste any time with unnecessary plot elements. Gets straight to the point, and yeah.
So we are in lockdown, and this is kind of our first. Well, although we did our final South Korean film in this way as well. For the foreseeable future, obviously when we can't be together, we're going to try and do films that you guys can stream on the internet. Unfortunately, because we only have Amazon Prime between us, that's kind of locking ourselves into Amazon Prime. So if you're not on Amazon Prime, get on Amazon Prime. And also, this is...
We are not paid by Amazon to say that.
We're not paid by Amazon,
unfortunately.
But also, because we're British, I can't really say for the rest of the world what films you have on your channels. But this one probably is on there because this is actually a public domain film. But you're absolutely right when you talk about these old films. They do kind of get straight to the point very quickly. There's none of that kind of backstory that you get nowadays,
Well, yeah, you get a sort of sliver of information about this guy.
A little bit here and there, yeah. I mean, this was actually based on a true story. Roughly. Billy Cook, the guy was, and he did quite similar. He did. I think he killed a family, and then he also took two men hostage who were kind of going on a trip. So that's obviously very similar to the film. But obviously, this is like in the 50s when you couldn't get away with like what you could get away with on cinema now. You had a lot more restrictions in place, and I think they had to cut down on the amount of deaths on screen. To get this past the licensees at the time. But I think it's quite good fun. I've seen a lot of film noir. Like you say, it's very kind of gets to the point. And it gets through it. But I thought it actually had me on the edge of my seat a couple of times as well. I thought William Talman, who plays Emmett Myers, who is the criminal, was really quite creepy actually at times.
No, yeah, definitely.
And he has this like paralysed eye. And there's a scene where he says they're sleeping around a campfire. He says, like, just to warn you, when I sleep, this eye stays open. And I thought that's quite hilarious. But then when you see it, it was actually quite freaky because he's like staring at them. And you're like, is he awake or is he asleep? I don't know. That's and that I thought was a really good, quite fun little thing to put in there. It's pulp at the end of the day. It's that kind of film. I'd say maybe more pulp than noir. I mean, noir is obviously is a kind of a style of filmmaking. Obviously, it features criminals, but there's also the lighting going on and all of that. Whereas this is because this is kind of out in the countryside of America. So in that sense, it doesn't feel like a noir. It's also quite interesting because this is directed by a woman. Not that that's weird, but it was quite weird in 1953.
Well, I mean, there's obviously these days there's a lot of talk about representation, and particularly the Oscars when the nominations come out, and there's either no women nominated or only one. But I think back in the 50s, it was almost unheard of. There were the female directors, but not to the degree that there are now. So she was quite a rarity to be out there, and particularly directing that sort of film as well.
She's British, actually. She was born in Herne Hill in London, and then she went out. She was an actress. I think she did a lot of acting. I think started in this country and then went over to America. But she was directing. She started directing. She had her own production company, I think, with her husband at the time, and she was directing kind of social message, like social drama, documentary type things. I think she took over from someone else who was directing this. I think
that was a different film. That's how she got into directing. She took over from someone who could.
Oh, okay, right.
I can't remember the reason. I think he was ill or something. I can't remember, but
right, okay.
And then that's how she got sort of into doing it.
This film was picked up by the Library of Congress. There's a number of films that get put in that over the years. Significant, like films that are kind of aesthetically, culturally significant.
She was also the only woman to ever direct any episodes of the original series of The Twilight Zone.
Oh, really?
There you go. for the time,
Pretty special for the time. No, definitely. I enjoyed this one. I do enjoy a bit of film noir. This is pretty good. Edge of your seat stuff.
Definitely. I think, like, as you said, William Talman was definitely very menacing in the role, and the two guys, the two friends played by Frank Lovejoy and Edmund O'Brien, they play the roles really well as well. They obviously at first they're just having a lark, there's a couple of friends on a fishing trip, and then they're obviously fighting for their lives effectively. They have chances to escape, as is usually the case. They don't quite go well, and he almost tries to pit them off against each other, telling them that they could have escaped separately if they'd been like him and not cared about other people. But obviously, they've got a strong friendship, and they're not going to do that to each other.
But even there's because the police are kind of tracking him down, and they're trying to track him down by people that he may have taken hostage. You get the sense that maybe they're not doing maybe what they told their wives that they were doing.
No,
it doesn't really go anywhere, but there's a little bit of something else there as well.
Well, again, I mean, if there's anything that's maybe underdeveloped, it's probably their backstory. We could pick up little bits about them, but not, one of them's got kids. Obviously, they're both married, but we don't really find out a great deal about them. But then it's not, the film's 70 minutes. It doesn't really have time for that sort of thing. And it's not absolutely necessary. You still get to, you're still rooting for them to get away. You're still scared for them because this guy is so threatening.
You feel like these are the kind of films that people like Tarantino and Oliver Stone and people like that were watching, because there's definitely stuff in there that has then gone on to be films like Natural Born Killers. God, there's been loads of films like California. These kind of, where you pick up a serial killer, or you pick up a mass killer or something like that.
Or The Hitcher that we spoke about a few months ago.
Yes, of course. It's a good, enjoyable film that you can track down. You can get it on Amazon Prime, like I said.
I mean, if you do want to pick up a disc, there was a DVD released in the UK, I think about 15 years ago, which you can still track it down. Blu-ray wise, Kino Lorber released it probably at least 10 years ago, and then they re-released it last year, and it had a 2K restoration. So reading the reviews, it sounds like it looks really good, and it's got a commentary on it as well by a film historian. It does lose the stills gallery that was on the original release, but there you go. If you like your stills gallery, then go for the earlier one. But no, apparently it looks really nice, and that's the one drawback I would say for the Amazon version. It's not a great picture. It's there's lots of print damage and flecks and specks and dust and stuff on it, so it doesn't look particularly great. And what I also noticed, there's a scene, obviously a lot of it's set in Mexico, and there's Mexican police, and there's a scene where they're talking to each other. It's only a couple of minutes, but there's no subtitles
until they show him show someone a picture of the criminal, and then you kind of realise what they're talking about. But yeah, there's a good couple of minutes where you can't. Yeah, and
I'm pretty sure. Well, I don't know, but it's not the sort of scene. Sometimes in films there's scenes where they're speaking another language and they don't bother to subtitle because it's kind of obvious what is happening. You don't need to subtitle it, but that wasn't. It didn't feel like that sort of scene. It was. There was information being passed between people, and you're like, this feels like I should know what they're saying. I turned the subtitles on, but unfortunately there weren't any.
No, I tried the same because at the end of that scene, he then goes off. What he does, you feel like you need to know what he's being said a little bit.
But there probably was some information there that you need to know, but it didn't affect the plot massively. So it was just like a little bit irritating. But maybe check it out on Amazon, and if you do like it, then there's options to buy the disc. What I will say is the Blu-ray from the States is locked to region A, unfortunately. So if you can't play that, then you're out of luck. But yeah, if you can, then it sounds like it's worth picking up because it's a much better version.
So that was The Hitch-Hiker, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments below.
Click that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the bell for notifications. Check out some of our earlier videos. Come and find us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and make sure you come back next week for another video.